You stupid bitch. Yeah, you're a stupid bitch. You stupid bitch. What's tonight's topic?
Tonight's topic, I was actually thinking about it. I thought to myself, geez, I better write it down so I don't forget.
Because it's your intro.
It's podcast. It's pop culture.
Yes.
It's pop culture, and it is television shows. And I said it last week, didn't I? Television shows. It's movies that we haven't watched in a very long time,
Or
and
ever.
or ever. Oh, see, I picked two that I had watched before, and then we are watching them after a long time and writing down our first impressions, and then we are sharing our first impressions of that film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes. One of my movies is one that I haven't seen in fucking years, but the other one was from Brain Dead Movie Night, which we have on a Friday night when the two of us aren't, if I wasn't podcasting or whatever, and we just put on a movie that you don't have to think about. Vinny had seen this before and he picked it, and I was devastated when I saw what it was about and whatnot, but watched it, and look, like a bad Arnie movie, I enjoyed it. So I'll be reviewing that one first.
Well, look, I'm not entirely happy with my formatting for how we're going to review this. So I'm going to see how it goes and then, rejig it potentially for other times we do this, because we've had so much fun, listeners. We have decided that we will probably do this once a season.
Yeah. Oh, that's enough.
Yeah, because
one every six, because there's 6 pop cultures a season.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do it once a season.
And we've got Unsolved Mysteries as a recurring one as well. So we'll have plenty of content. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. I've sort of put mine into a reviewy story style.
Okay, well, I've just brain dumped mine.
Well, that's good. That's good.
As I did it, and then I've tried to relate it to certain parts of the film, but basically it's just me just rambling on.
Well, mine's rambling on too.
On my thoughts.
But I guess we should tell our dear listeners what they're actually listening to.
Oh, yes. Well, once again, it's actually Thursday night here because now we podcast on Thursdays where we can.
We do.
And you are listening to Stupid Bitches Say What, the podcast about everything and nothing, but always with wine or beer. And your host,
another drink.
Skye Collette.
And Sean.
Oh, no, I'm supposed to say no. With your hosts, Sean Bino, Stupid Bitch Hipkins.
And Skye Lee, Silly Pig Collette.
I was just going to say, he's such a silly pig.
Oink, oink.
Oink, oink.
Oink.
So what are you drinking, you stupid bitch?
Well, I'm a bit excited about this one. So it's a minus 196 degrees.
Oh.
Double. But I've got a peach one, which I haven't tried yet. Grape is my favorite. Got a lemon, and now I'm trying a peach.
I've had the peach. It's too peachy for me.
Oh, yeah, it is peachy. It's not terrible. I could drink maybe 3.
See, I couldn't finish one. Tyler drank them. He drank them. I got them for me, and he was like, "Oh, I don't think I like that." And then he drank them because I couldn't finish one.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it actually.
But I do love the lemons. The grapes, I do like the taste of, but again, it's too sweet for me, so I couldn't drink a full one.
Oh, the grapes are my fave. I could drink a 10-pack of them.
Oh, yeah. See, I like the lemons. The lemons are nice.
Yeah, a bit of a lemon. And what are you drinking, Skye?
Well, I'm having a little bit of a tipple tonight too, even though it's a school night.
Tis.
I'm drinking a Corona Extra droplets with a little bit of lime in there.
Etsified with the wedge of lime.
I know. I said Tyler messaged me before because we didn't have eggs, and you know how I feel about my breakfast eggs.
Oh yes, must have every morning.
For 2 days this week we haven't had eggs because every time we've gone to the shops, do you know if you go to the shops of a night time? I don't know what it's like over at your way, like at your Aldi and your Woolies, but you probably stock up. But if we frantically go to the shops because we run out of stuff, you just can't get eggs after like 4 o'clock in the afternoon anymore.
No, we have an egg shortage up here too, and it's like constant. There's a limit of 2 cartons per person.
Oh, well, see, I'm not even sure if we have those limits, but you literally get there and there's no eggs. Like you can't
Oh,
get
wow.
them. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
gone.
no, we have a limit.
Not even the fancy, expensive eggs. Like not even, you think, oh, fuck it, I'll just get a 6-pack and pay fucking $11 or some shit. Gone.
Yeah.
Gone
Yeah,
by a
they've
certain
got big
time in the day.
sections of ours gone. And the eggs I have to get now, which is whatever's there. I prefer my 10 massive egg pack.
Yes.
They don't have those.
Well, see, I like the extra large, the 700 grams, not the 600 grams.
I know. I like a jumbo.
Yeah, I like, well, that's the 700 grams, isn't it? Are you talking bigger
There's
than
large,
700
extra
grams?
large, and jumbo.
Oh, really? See, I don't. Okay, so what are they? 800 grams?
I've never really looked at the weight,
Oh.
just the size, discussion, name, branding on the front.
I wonder if they are 700 grams and just the brand that you get is called Jumbo, because I don't think I've seen an egg that's bigger than 700 grams, unless it was a goose egg or perhaps
an
some type of duck.
I think it's the free range because, yeah, it's a Sunny Queen free range. I'm just looking at it now. 800 gram.
Okay, well, there you go. Apologies.
Yes. I don't lie about my
bigger,
eggs.
but you didn't know how big it was. You didn't know how big it was.
But I know that brand has, the large, extra large, and jump. The large are just fucking small. Why don't they call them small eggs?
I know they are. They're not large. They're very small eggs. And I notice the difference between, like, I know when Tyler, because I say to him all the time, baby, you got to get the 700 grams. That's just how I need 700 grams.
Yeah.
Times 2 in the morning. It's just how I roll. And then occasionally he'll get the 600 grams, but he did it without thinking. And now if there's no 700 grams, he comes, he's like, baby, they only have the 600 grams. I'm sorry.
700 grams must be the weight of the entire carton. Like the weight of the entire egg carton. Like, I don't think you'd have 1.4 kilos of eggs in the morning.
Oh, is it 70 grams? No, it's 700 grams, isn't it?
But that would be the carton, yeah. Because when you were saying that times 2, I was like, hang on, you wouldn't have 1.4 kilos of egg.
Oh my God, I never thought about it like
that. Must be.
Actually, God, I feel
because otherwise the eggs would be nearly a kilo. I get how you've gone down that direction. But anyway, now that we've cleared that up. How did we even
get to that?
You were talking about your corona.
Did we go? Oh, yeah, because he was going to get me the eggs. And then I was like, baby, I think I'm going to have a corona tonight. Could you get me some lime, please? So he did. The good little husband that he is. He got me some lime. So I do feel rather fancy. And, we've had these coronas in our fridge for 2 weekends.
Jesus.
Because we brought them to go out to Beck's place, and I drank a bottle of champagne and some other beers because I forgot they were there, and Tyler had a 6-pack. Actually, I think we brought 2 cases because then we were going to take a case camping. And then Tyler got a message during the week saying, oh, all the booze is accounted for. You don't have to bring any booze because we're shouting all weekend.
Oh, nice.
I'd already said I wasn't going. And then I was like, ick. Didn't know it was free booze.
They could have said.
Yeah, so I do feel rather fancy. Jeez, we digress there. I've only had a couple of sips. Actually, I've drunk nearly half that beer. That's why. But I've had dinner.
It was funny seeing that old promotion we had of our very first What's the Haps, episode 4.
I know.
And it's in there. Do we go on drunken tangents? Yes. Do we get to the point? Yes. Do we ever find out what happened at the end of Squid Game? I'm not sure.
Yes, we do.
And that was when we used to record 3-hour episodes and have to cull that into 1.5 and 1 hour and 15
when
minutes.
I saw that, my first thought was, God, this is so well written. How witty are you? And then I thought, oh my God, I have to go back to the beginning and re-listen now.
I would like to listen to that too.
I did re-listen. Do you remember when I first moved in here? Like when we first moved up, I re-listened from the very beginning. But I only got a certain way through. I got up to like season 3 or 4 at least, or maybe even 5, I think. And then I got onto something else, I think. And I didn't go all the way through. But God, we were shit-faced.
Yeah.
But that was when we also missed each other terribly, and we never saw each other because we lived in different states. And so we would be, yay!
Let's get drunk.
When we saw each other.
It was also COVID. So like staying in at home and getting drunk was the highlight.
Deaths.
Yeah.
I have to disappear this little thing over here. Hang on a second. Anywho, how's your week been, stupid bitch? Enlighten me.
Well, the week has been good in the last 2 days. A little update on Agatha All Along.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Can I quickly say something?
Yeah.
Because Tyler said to me, I yelled out to him the other night and I said, oh my God, Tyler said that Bino said I have to watch Agatha all along. And Tyler came back exactly like that. That's that saying that you said.
Oh,
He said,
really?
oh my God, it's supposed to be the most progressive. They're all old. There's like all, different people. And he
Yeah.
was like, apparently it's getting the worst rap ever and all this shit. And I was like, I knew you'd say that.
Yeah. Straight white man.
The first time I'm interested in watching something Marvel and you're poo-pooing it.
Well, I have to say, so I watched another 2 episodes or 3 episodes over the time since we last spoke. And I can see why it's getting a bad rap. Some of it gets a bit like, I think it's episode 5 or 4, where they have to, one of the trials is they basically form a band and sing a song.
The what?
They form a band and sing a song. Like
That
they
sounds
have to.
cool.
Okay, well, maybe you like it. Maybe you like it. It's one of the witches' trials. But it's cool watching them all do their little witchy poo stuff.
It's like an episode of Glee.
Yes. And the other thing I wanted to say is you may see behind me some boxes. I did a little
You got your
purchasing.
candles.
I got my ivy and oak Christmas candles, which I haven't smelt yet. I'm going to smell the gingerbread
Oh,
one.
you haven't even smelt them. My God, that's the first thing I would have done.
Well, I literally had to run in and get ready. They're cute, aren't they?
Very.
Oh, that smells exactly like gingerbread.
But it's about when you burn it, how
Yes.
much scent comes off too. It's not
It
just
did
how
have a
they smell
decent-
in the jar.
That's right. It did have a decent review. And I also got my dusk salt lamp.
Oh,
You know, the
I
ones
gave
with the
away
chunks
my
of salt
I
in the
gave
bottom.
away my salt lamp before when I moved up here because I got sick of it leaking and you have to have a plate underneath it because
Yes.
they leak and stuff. And it may come
Yeah.
with all that in it, but the one I had like a wooden bottom, like a made out of wood, but it even leaked through the wood, so you had to have the plate underneath
it.
to catch
Well, that's
it.
good advice. And
So
do you know
yeah, just
how
don't put it on anything that you love, like any tabletop or anything that it might stain.
Yeah.
When you start burning it, just assess first.
Okay, very good
Leave it on the
advice.
kitchen counter.
Because you can wipe. And then got some other candles from Dusk. I've got another order still on its way. Came in 3 packages. But you know how Vinny and I are into snowmen? That's our thing for Christmas.
Sure.
Each year we buy a new snowman ornament for the tree that we're together. Anyway, they had these at Dusk. And I had to just get them. There's 2 of them.
Oh, they're cute.
And look, they light up.
Well,
There's
we've
little
started a
Christmas
little
trees.
Christmas tradition too, because we always buy each other ornaments now. So I'll have to make sure I get you guys an ornament soon. I haven't ordered one yet. I want to get a really cool. Because remember, I got you the one last year and I didn't give it to you in time.
Yes, and did I
Christmas,
get you one last?
Yeah, you got me one last year.
Yeah.
You got me, I think, the Stupid Bitches one. You got me the Stupid Bitches one the year before, and then you got me the one
Tyler
of the 4 of us.
and me and Vinny. That's right. Yeah. Cool.
It's very cool.
So that's my week. How's yours been?
Yeah, look, let me just get my notes so I can remember how my week's been. Okay, so I'm going to Chisel on Sunday. So yeah, and my dad has had his knee surgery, so unfortunately he can't go. But Linky was pretty devastated when I got tickets, even though I had messaged him and told him I was getting tickets and I would buy him and me tickets. And I got no reply, which is pretty, standard from my child. He's always on his phone, but he never responds to his mother's messages. Anyway, and so because dad can't go, Link is scooching in and taking dad's tickets.
Cool.
So I'm super gutted that we're going without dad because Chisel is dad's band. Like this
Flame
is his
Trees,
thing.
his favorite song.
So it's pretty devastating not to take him, and also thinking of him sitting at home because mum's coming, Sarah and Aaron are coming. I know. And we talked about getting him a wheelchair, like hiring one and then just getting like a wheelchair spot for him, but it's just too risky, like,
and it's also
with the crowds and stuff.
It'd probably be a bit mortified as well. I don't need this. It's just
he definitely
doesn't.
He doesn't want it. He wouldn't enjoy himself if he went in a wheelchair anyway.
Yeah.
But he's doing much better this week. He's getting really on the mend. So it's been about 2.5 weeks now since his surgery. So
good. Glad to hear he's doing well.
Been a bit tough for him, but he's getting there. But it's going to be harsh for us to go. Like, we won't be posting any photos or ever discussing it in his presence ever. Could be the best concert that we ever go to and be like, no shit, you would have hated it, Dad. It was terrible. So I got my hair done last night. I don't know if
Looks
you can tell.
lovely. You can tell it
Super
looks
blonde. Yes, I'm very happy with
barley
it.
ready.
Yeah, and we are doing our final preparations this weekend for Bali. So we've got our new suitcases. We're only taking one and our carry-on. We were
Yeah.
actually going to go just with carry-on because then we wouldn't get held up in the lines as well. You know, like the baggage lines, they say that they're really bad. That's what you end up waiting for, the baggage.
Yeah, we didn't really have too much issue.
Oh, good. Okay, well that's good to hear. But in the end, we don't check in. So I think we landed about 11:30, but our check-in isn't until 2:30 anyway. So I thought,
Right.
and it would have been a challenge for us to get everything into just 14 kilos total, like because we've only
Yeah.
got 7
Yeah,
kilos
yeah, yeah.
carry
And
on.
as I said, you want room for shit you're bringing back.
Yeah, so we brought one suitcase to take over, and then we're going to buy one over there to
Oh,
bring
yeah,
back
cool.
and buy shit over
And
there.
when you get
So
to the hotel, like even if you're early, they might be able to check you in early or they'll take your bags and send you to
yeah,
the bar or something.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go and change some money over. So did you change money over before you left, or did you just change over
Yes.
there? Yeah.
No, I changed our money here. Um, all of it, I think. And then, but when we went to like a restaurant or something like that, I just used my card.
Yes. So I've heard that, it's a bit sporadic about whether or not you can use cards in some places.
Yeah.
And I think especially Gilly T might be a bit funny because
Yeah.
it's a little bit more laid back over there. But so we'll change a bit of cash before we go. But then I was just planning on using my card. I don't want to take too much cash with us.
Yeah. And you just, yeah, whack it in the safe.
Yeah, and because we've got a driver picking us up as well. So one of the girls from work, she's recommended her driver to us. She's told us, take him a packet of Tim Tams. They love Tim
Oh,
Tams. So
nice. Yeah, my
we're
mum used
taking
to
a
go
packet of
over
Tim
with
Tams.
big fucking bags of like plastic pool balls and all this shit and just take them and just give them out to the kids when they'd go on tours and stuff.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And
And they'd also, and this was more so in the early days. I don't know if it was still now. They used to love all branded clothing and shit. So anything you didn't want. I remember one guy was desperate for my Guns N' Roses tour t-shirt when I went over when I was 14. And I was like, nah, you're not having it.
I thought you were going to say you gave it to him. I was like, oh.
I was 14. Yeah, no way. It's way
No,
too
you can't have
selfish.
it.
Yeah.
But I was talking to one of the hairdressers last night who was doing my hair, and she was young and she's been over a couple of times, and she was telling me a few things. And I was saying, oh yeah, look, because you can take 2 liters in, we're going to get a liter bottle of vodka each, and then we'll probably get 2 bottles of wine because I know the wine isn't that so great over there. And I love my wine. I do, especially, an afternoon when the sun's setting, having a little cheeky bubbles. And then she was like, oh yeah, I took a liter and then I left it at the airport so I could get it on the way back. And I was like, oh no, the alcohol's
This
coming
is,
into Bali.
yes.
And she's like, oh yeah, well, if you don't drink it, you can just give it to your driver and whatever. I said, oh honey,
I'm there for
we'll drink it. We're
10
there for
nights.
10 days.
I'll be drinking it. Yeah.
2 liters of vodka.
That's room drinking.
And then she was talking about how when she brought her stuff back, it took her 6 months to drink it. And she was like, my mum was really surprised. It took me 6 months. And she was like, oh my God, you drank that so quickly. I was like, please, 2 liters of vodka, 6 months. You're lucky if it lasts
that could do a
30
one weekend
days.
session. Yeah. With a couple of people involved.
Yeah, totally. Oh God, Tyler and I could put away a liter of vodka between the two of us, easy.
Yeah, totally. Same.
So yeah, and then we're just gonna stock up on all our little toiletries and our bits and pieces, and we're not doing anything this weekend, except for chisel on Sunday.
Very good. So you'd be fresh on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm working from home Monday, so
Oh, nice.
but I mean, because it's at Victoria Park as well, so
Oh
we'll
God.
drink heaps there. But then you get in the cab, and by the time you get home, you're sobered up. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're not going to drink in the cab on the way home. You're going to be
Yeah.
like, my feet are killing me.
It's not like your friends
Get me in a
driving you.
bed.
You
Yeah.
can't have roadies. Oh, cool. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Anyway,
Good.
so
And very exciting. A week till Bali.
Yes, I know. Very exciting. This time next week, I'll be probably frantically doing all the last minute stuff, and then I won't sleep.
Just
I'll
don't
be
forget your
worried that I'll miss the
passport.
plane. It's on the table in my passport bag. Mine and Tyler's ready to go.
So Kim, Kimmy from work,
Yeah.
she turned 30 while we were up at our conference, and she went to the Philippines on Monday. She lives 5 minutes from the airport. She lives 5 minutes from the airport. She got to the airport. It's her birthday trip. She forgot a passport.
No.
but she lives 5 minutes away. So they were literally able to just go get it and come back without too much issue.
Oh my God, now you're giving me
That's why
anxiety.
I'm saying don't forget your passport. You don't live 5 minutes away. All right. So you're
Oh
the
dear.
lead for our sessions. What's your
Yes,
first one, you
yes, I
stupid
am.
bitch?
Okay, so first off, I just want to say that and I've already mentioned this, I'm super duper. I have super duper enjoyed researching this app. Both the movies I picked were iconic, but movies that I have been like I should rewatch, but haven't really felt the need to rewatch. You know, when you see them pop up and you think, oh, I really want to watch that again, but
Yes.
then when you think about what you want to watch, it just doesn't really cut it.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a forced watch, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I can't wait to share my thoughts with you, but they are very rambly.
Okay. I'm used
So,
to it.
first up is Can't Buy Me Love.
Right.
What do you know about this film? Please tell me you've
Oh,
seen it.
if I have seen it, it was when I was a child or 15 or something. It sounds familiar, but I have no idea who or what's in it.
You don't know anything about it.
Not from the
Oh,
name.
it's all going to come back to you. It's all going to come back to you. Okay. So I have to say that I did do my thoughts after 4 seltzers and I drank 2 beers whilst I was doing it. So it was Tuesday night after the podcast.
Some of our best work comes from a seltzer inspired episode.
And I was constantly like on my phone on notes, just like writing down. So I'd pause it, write a big batch of notes, replay, then 5 seconds like, oh, quick, I
Cool.
gotta write that down. And so when I was reviewing my notes, there was someone that was like, I'm not sure what that one means. So Can't Buy Me Love is a 1987 American romantic comedy film directed by Steve Rash, starring Patrick Dempsey and
Oh.
Amanda Peterson. It's a story about a nerd at a high school in Tucson, Arizona, who gives a cheerleader $1,000 to pretend to be his girlfriend for a month.
Oh, one of those old themes, hey?
The film takes its title from a Beatles song of the same title.
Yes. I'm not sure I've ever
Is it
seen
coming
this.
back to you now? No. Oh
No.
my God. Okay. So my first thought was, oh, wow, blue touchstone banner across the bottom of the screen. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The touchstone blue banner and it goes touchstone across.
Bing. Yeah.
And that used to be every film that you ever watched, like in the 80s and early 90s. It was always that touchstone banner.
Yeah.
Um, and then my next thought was, oh my God, I love this song. I'll buy you a diamond ring, my
My
friend, if it
friend, if it
makes
keeps
you
you
feel
satisfied.
right. I'll get you anything, my friend, if it makes you feel right. Because I
I
don't
don't
care
care
too
too
much for
much for
money,
money.
because money can't buy me love, can't buy me love. Love. You buy me love,
You
love,
dumb bitch.
love. Okay, so story. Ronnie Miller, a high school nerd in Tucson, saves up for a telescope by mowing lawns all summer. So you
Oh,
don't remember him
bless.
coming in on the ride-on mower.
No,
You don't remember that at all.
I don't know if I've seen it. So,
Oh my
yeah.
God, but you would have like seen of it at least. Thought. Patrick Dempsey looks like a man-child who isn't even an adult yet. And whatever happened to the chick? More on that later. Also, super skinny and super weird.
Okay, I just Googled it, and yes, the cover does look familiar now.
Thought I wanted her car. It was such a cool little convertible. Also, she just takes her mum's credit cards and buys what she wants.
I
Jealous.
know.
Also, cheerleader dance party, please. When they're picking the new cheerleaders on their first day of school, they're like, in their
How
tiny,
sexy. How
tiny
cute.
clothes, and they're like dancing too. A bit like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the
Yeah,
movie, not the TV series.
and bring it on.
Story. When popular cheerleader Cindy Mancini accidentally ruins her mum's suede outfit. Do you not remember that?
And you can't keep asking me that after everything. I'll go, I remember that.
So she says to her mum, so her mum's obviously rich, but it's just her mum, like that she's a single mum, and it's just her and her mum. And she says, can I borrow your white suede outfit tonight, mum? And she's like, no, you've already asked me so many times. I've already said no. So her mum goes on a date, and as soon as she goes and takes it out of like the dress bag and stuff and puts it on and goes to a party. And then the first thing she does as she's walking around and talking to people, someone throws red wine all over at a guy. He just like someone walks into him and the red wine goes everywhere and it's swayed.
Yeah.
So it's
it's fucked. You
so
can't
it's
wet
absolutely fucked. But thought, what fucking high school guy is drinking red wine at a party?
Suede.
No,
It
I'm
was the
saying.
80s. They were yuppies.
So Ronnie offers $1,000 to replace it if she pretends to date him for a month to improve his social standing. So he's the biggest nerd. It's senior year, their last year at school before they go to college. And all he cares about is being popular because he's been the biggest nerd and he looks like a complete nerd. He wears like a beret.
Yeah,
It's so dorky. And so even though she already has a boyfriend who's at college already, like he's a massive football player and he's like interviewed on telly and stuff like that, she agrees and she guides Ronald through a transformation. Thought. So she has a boyfriend that's in college and she has a life-size cardboard cutout of him on the back of her bedroom door.
Oh, God.
It's creepy, weird, and super stalkerish.
Super creepy.
I think Ronnie's mate might be a young Ron Howard. Also, he wears a beret. What the fuck? It looks like shit. Also, enter annoying little redhead brother named Chucky, who has some of the worst jokes ever. Can you guess what child actor might be playing him?
Yes. So, well, fucking Chucky for starters.
Mm,
It's not Danny Bonaduce,
no,
and it's not Ron Weasley, but I
no.
do know the little around then. Give me a clue.
Mini-me.
Mini Skye.
Austin Powers.
It's Austin Powers.
No, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's Seth Green.
Ah, yes, yes.
A
Oh,
very
cool.
tiny, tiny, Weasley looking Seth Green.
Cute.
So when she goes back to the dressmaker to try and return the dress that is covered in red wine and it's fucking suede, she's crying and Robbie sees her and he's in their mall and he's there like trying to buy this telescope and it's going to cost $1,000 and he's made like $1,400 from mowing all these lawns.
So he's got to forgo the telescope.
And he's in there. Yeah, you're taking my bit.
Well, I thought that was what you were saying.
And so he goes up to her. She's crying in the window, and the dressmaker's not having any of it. He's like, "No, you're not. You know." And she's like, "I work here on weekends, after school, blah blah blah. I'll pay you back. You just have to give it to me now, so she can replace the ruined one." And he's not. And so then Ronnie just appears behind her in the window and just fans out the $1,000 like in the window.
Oh wow! I got
It's
some money.
It's super cringe. The transformation for Ronnie when they go to school the next day, because she agrees that she will go out with him or be friends with him, I guess, for a month. And she's like, when he shows up at school, she's like, oh my God, she can't even believe that he's serious about it, even though she's got the $1,000 suit that she's already taken off him. So she's like, fine, if we're going to do this, we've got to do something about your look. So she pulls him to the side and hides behind a tree, and she takes off his glasses, and then she gets a bit of mousse and she puts it in his hair and flops
And that's
it all
all you
up.
need to look cool.
And then she rips the shirt sleeves off his checkered shirt, and she's like, okay, that'll do.
That's better.
That's all you need, kids.
Yeah. Well, then that used to happen to all the girls in those movies. Just take off her glasses,
Just
shake
take
her
off
head
the
around.
glasses. Every time,
Voila.
oh, geez, you look really nice without your glasses.
Just FYI, $1,000 in 1987 would be equivalent to $2,775 today. So
Wow.
that's an expensive dress.
It is an expensive dress. You can see why she was crying.
Even at $1,000, it's an expensive dress.
That's right. That's right. I'm also going to add Tyler's comments in now. He was reading his book and is like, what the fuck is that Patrick Dempsey? And then he couldn't stop fucking laughing. He was literally wetting himself in bed. It's actually crazy to believe at times that it is him, even though I knew that going in that it was him. And I knew I knew when Patrick Dempsey became, big later on. I was like, oh my God, that's the guy from Can't Buy Me Love, which is why I'm shocked that you never saw it. And then Tyler also turns to me about 10 minutes in and says, this is the worst idea for a movie ever. He
well,
hated
they did
it
multiple times after that too. That same theme.
So then they're at school and they go to home ec class. One of the home ec dudes is wearing an apron in the school, in the home ec classroom with no shirt underneath it. Like no shirt, like bare chested with an apron over the top.
Is it worth it?
Yeah, look, he had nice abs. It's still like, come on,
Yeah.
come on. One chick has her cheek painted, like she has like stripes down there, like it's like she's a cheerleader, but she's not in a cheerleader's outfit. And then throughout the whole show, she's either got dots of paint on her, or she's got little things around her mouth, or stuff
Yeah.
above her eyes. It's
It's
very
a Cindy
weird.
experience.
I've never seen anything like it. Also, Paul Kenny lost his BFF. So the Ron Howard lookalike, he was also a geek. And then as soon as, Ronnie gets in with the cool crowd, complete diss.
Yeah. We used to be
Dead
friends
to
a
him.
long time ago.
So then I say the jokes are so bad, but he is growing on me. Very sweet. I'm starting to like her too. But geez, it was a rough 30 minutes. I was like, what the fuck have I got myself into? Also, crop tops on men, gross, but also strangely hot.
Yeah, and it's sort of making a bit of a comeback, mainly in the sort of model era or Instagram famous stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't object to seeing a few more crop tops.
Like you look at it and you're like, ooh, and then you're like,
Especially with the shorts they'd wear and the long socks, white
especially
socks.
with like the denim jeans too,
Yeah.
and like the super crop top with the tiny waist. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. I run my fingers over that.
Also classic nerdy guy ditches lifelong bestie to be cool story.
And is it? Oh, sorry, I'll let you go.
The outfits are awful, but also so fucking cool. They're like,
how did the
so
80s do that?
80s, but also I'm like looking at them going, oh my God, they make it look so good.
Yeah.
But it's so terrible. So story, as they bond, Ronald opens up about his love of space, that space,
Astronomy,
astrology.
yes.
And
Astrology.
Cindy,
Astronomy.
Astronomy, astrology, whatever.
No, I said astronomy, but you're right. It's astrology, isn't it?
And
No.
Cindy shares a personal poem. Thoughts. It's very romantic. The planes are very cool, and astrology. So he takes it to this, like they call it, the bone the plane junkyard, and he goes, it's actually the plane graveyard, and it's like a place near where they live, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of planes that have been fished out of the sea, and like relics and stuff like that. They're basically, people must ship there, and they just store them for whatever reason. And
yeah,
it's quite cool. It's a little bit romantic.
oh.
He says, though, by the time he's his dad's age, because they're looking at the stars at this point through a telescope, that we, the human race, will be living and working on the moon. I'm like,
Oh, bless. Well, look at the ideas that Back to the Future had for 2023 or 2021 or whatever it was.
I watched that with Link and I was like, oh my God, this is what people actually thought.
Yeah.
She's in love with him by that point, but when he talks about breaking up because they're near the end of their 30 days, she's Devo, but pretends she isn't. It's very annoying, but also very sweet how hurt she is, but she keeps her mouth shut, right? So their stage breakup turns bitter when Ronald humiliates Cindy publicly, leading him down a path of superficial popularity. So it's been 30 days. He starts off and they're all like, ooh. And then because she's the coolest chick in school, they eventually like, oh, look, he's not so bad. And they all just sort of start to tolerate him. But then they become to love him and they're all like friends with him and they just think he's the best. And that's when he breaks up with her. He starts distancing himself from his loyal friends, like his old besties. And after a dance blunder, rises further in social ranks. So this dance blunder is the American Anteater ritual. Again, I can't believe you haven't seen this movie. So he's like, so one of the friends, so he's broken up with Cindy. And one of the friends is like, goes up to him straight away and asks him out because like all the girls are hot on him now because the hottest girl in the school was going out with him. Now they've like split up and everyone wants him.
Yeah.
And so he goes,
free property, a hot property.
Exactly. And so one of the girls wants to go to the dance and she's like, oh, I hope, you can dance. And he's like, of course I can dance. He can't. So he turns on American Bandstand to see some dance moves. And his brother accidentally puts it on like a National Geographic channel. And there's like these two people doing the American Anteater dance. And he thinks it's American Bandstand and the coolest dance of the time. So he learns the move and then does it on the dance floor. And again, when he starts doing it, everyone's like, the fuck, is there something wrong with this dude? And then the girl that's with him, she's like, oh, I might just give it a go. And then they all get into it.
Yeah.
And then later on, his parents having a party, and he walks home and he looks in the window and all his parents are doing the dance. And it's really whack. Like it's so special.
Yeah.
But
it kind of just shows how stupid shit can be super cool if the right person's doing it, if you've got your influencer.
Yeah, it's such a huge cliche movie, but
Yeah.
it does work in lots of ways. Um, so my thoughts at that point was after he broke up with her, so he just completely humiliates her when they break up. It's really awful. And I'm like, he's being a complete fucking dick, like horrible. It's actually awful. Yuck. He turns into the most disgusting human ever. African anteater dance lols. milkshake on the cart lols. Fat girl joke. They were my thoughts as I was going through it. So then at a New Year's party, Cindy reveals the truth about their deal, and Ronnie is rejected by everyone. Now, I vaguely remember at this point that my young self thought she was a huge bitch for dobbing on him, but she was 100% right. He ends up being super sleazy when they fake break up. He accuses her in front of everyone in the middle of the school of bleeding him dry and using all his money, which, like, I guess she did take the $1,000 from him, but he takes it way too far. He calls her super high maintenance and just brings her down, which she didn't do anything to deserve that except take the money
He
from
just
him.
takes the whole thing
Takes it
too far.
way too far. And then he just starts sleeping with all her friends and completely ignores her. It's really awful. But she's already then they go to this New Year's party and he totally just opens up and like she does, and she just says, because she's drunk and she's really upset, and she just completely slathers him, and then no one wants to be his friends now. So back at school, Ronald seizes a chance to redeem himself by defending his former best friend Kenneth from bullies. So that was Kenny, the redhead. Acknowledging that true friendships matter more than popularity. His honesty earns him respect, and Cindy recognizes his worth, joining him on the lawnmower ride into the sunset where they share their first real kiss.
Oh,
that's how it ends.
but what about the football guy?
Well, he comes at the New Year's party and he's been like totally ghosting her all year. So they're supposed to be together. He leaves and
Legally Blonde style.
Yeah, they're supposed to be together, but he never calls. And every weekend they're like, "Oh, so have you heard from Bobby?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, he totally called." And when she wears the white dress at the beginning, the one that she ruins, she says it's a gift from Bobby, and he sends it to her. He sent it to her.
Okay, so she's
So she's totally bullshitting, but
fabricating their relationship.
he hasn't showed up in the whole movie, and then he rocks up at the New Year's party, and then he finds out that she's been hooking up with Robbie, and it just all goes to shit. So he abuses her first in front of everyone for being a slut, and that's when she turns around to Ronnie and just goes, "You paid me. That's the only reason I went out with you, and you guys all just completely followed him, and you're so superficial and blah blah blah." But some things I want to discuss in more detail. So first of all, there's this guy called Big John. Okay.
Oh,
And he's this familiar guy. And I did a quick look up of him, where are they at now? And he didn't come up, and I couldn't remember his name. So you would know him if you saw him. Like he was just the kind of jock guy in all those old school movies, kind of good looking, but huge, right?
yeah.
And one of the quotes that he has, someone says to him, "Big John, why do they call you Big John?" And he's like, "Let me show you." And I was like, "Ew, gross."
Sounds fine to me. Prove it, John.
But Big John, he says, like at one time they're at this party and he's like, look, I got to do something. But Big John is a gentleman. And so he slowly moves back and he gets to this window and does this massive fart out the window. And Chucky, the annoying brother, because he can't get over the fact that his brother is going out with the hottest girl in school. He's gone from geek to the Mr. Popularity in like the space of a week. He's like spying, and Big John's out there farting out the window and farts all over Chucky, and Chucky passes out. And then later on, when he's spying on them again, Big John goes up and farts in the window of the station wagon, and Chucky's in there spying again, and he fucking cops
He gets
it.
another one. I just Google imaged Big John, and yeah, I could see how it looks like a meathead.
Yeah,
and there was also a picture of someone in the crop top.
So whatever happened to Cindy Mancini, she actually died of a drug overdose in 2014 at age 43.
Oh, Jesus.
Super sad. She was really good in the film. She was a bit annoying in the beginning. I was like, ick, I don't know how I'm going to go with her, but I actually loved her by the end of it, and thought she was a really solid, strong, independent, like, female character in the 80s, which is almost unheard of, apart from her taking the money and freaking out and pining over the boyfriend, which she doesn't really pine over him. She just wants to show up appearances, I guess. But she's very cool about being, dude, you're wanting this popularity for the wrong reasons. You don't know what these people are like. They'll follow anything that's shiny kind of thing. They're not your real friends. And then my other thought was, how hard would it be watching these movies as an actor when you were old and seeing how baby faced you were? Like Patrick Dempsey would be older than us now, and he's like such a baby back then. But could you imagine what it would be like being old and looking back? Like Jennifer Aniston must look at her young self and be like,
Well, it's that or just about aging gracefully. But it's like
but
when you look
still.
at when you look back at photos and you're like, oh my God,
Mm,
what happened?
I know. That's why I love Facebook memories.
Yeah.
Um, so I did look up where they all are now, and like I said, the main character passed away from a drug overdose. The guy that I actually thought was Ron Howard is actually Courtney Gaines, and I think you'll like this bit. It says he was also in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I think
Oh,
he's the dude that you said is the ick one that ends up getting icker over time. And it's the one that used to be the high school boyfriend, and he leaves like he's a monk or he's a priest or something, and he leaves it for the blonde chick.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is he
I'm
redheaded?
just he is, and it looks like he is
Is his
quite
name
gross. Yeah,
Courtney Gaines?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's like, "Did you come in my burrito?" That's the line that's come up.
Well, there you go. So
Yeah.
he's in it, a very
Oh
young
wow.
version, but he also looks like a huge gig. And something else that I was thinking about was, in my mind, Patrick Dempsey pretty much made this film, and I never remember seeing him again until he popped up in Grace.
Mm,
Like I know he probably did stuff in between that, which would it
yeah,
was a big chunk of time because it was like 87 to whenever Grace came out, early
yeah,
2000s.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it was like he just went into hibernation also almost, and then he became, Dr. McDreamy.
yeah. Well, went to Nyada.
Yeah.
Did some acting.
But I do actually think he's quite hot. And I did love
I
him
think he's
in
hot.
Bridget Jones,
Yeah.
baby. Anyway, so I'm gonna leave you with the best quotes. Dad, this is Chucky. He's going to play cards with the tards.
Can't say that.
And then one of the dudes, when Ronnie walks into the school first, when he's trying to look cool, one of the jocks is like, "Who's the dick with the ears?" It cracks me up.
I do like that.
And they're always like, "Shut up, Chuck." And then the same dude is the dude that the one who said, "Who's the dick with the ears?" He's the one who spilt the red wine all over her. Is this complete sleaze? And he walks up to the party and he walks in the front door and he's like, "Quentin is in. Let the fun begin." I wet myself.
I do like these lines coming out. Quentin is in
Let the fun
again.
begin. And his mate's like, "Geez, you're an asshole." And then he says, like, when he hooks up with one of her friends and has like sees her boobs for the first time, he gets into bed and he's like, 17 years, 55 days. That's a long time to wait for some tit. Because he gets to touch her tits for the first time. And then also, so the ending before he actually gets outed as paying her off and he loses all his friends. It's Halloween and they're playing a Halloween prank, all the jocks, and every year they hit the same house and they've got actual dog shit in bags that they cover this
Yeah.
house with.
Ick.
And when they pull up out the front, it's actually his redhead best mate that he's ditched Kenny, and he's like, "I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it." But they force it. Well, he does it just to be
Yeah.
cool. And they've set up nets, and the dad's like an army guy. And so they've set up nets and everything so that they can catch the people. And his mate actually catches him with the net, but then lets him free, but is absolutely gutted about it.
That
And
it's
when
him who's doing it. Yeah.
yeah. And when he loses all these friends, he goes to try to talk to him and, be friend. And he was really brutal to him. Like, other than not including that, it was so awful to him throughout the whole movie. And he's trying to get his friend back and he grabs him and they're playing video games and he throws him up the wall in the video game parlor and he's like, "You shit on my house, man. You shit on my house."
It doesn't get fucking worse than that, does it?
But despite the cringe factor, I actually fucking loved it. And Cindy actually ends up being a great character. At first, I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?" Because it had a slow start, but I'm super glad I watched it because I
Oh,
did
good.
really, really love it.
Maybe I'll make Vinny watch it for Brain Dead movie night.
Yeah, look, I think like at first you're like, "Whoa, this is so," like, especially when you see like the cardboard cutout and just like how cheesy it is. And it's very, very cheesy, but it has some very lovely moments in it.
Wholesome moments.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, good, good.
Anywho, I think it's some stupid bitch's turn, but
All
continue.
right. So as I was saying earlier, We have Brain Dead movie night on a Friday night when we can, and we take turns. So whoever picks, blah, 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 blah. And you have to watch it. I made Vinny watch Rummy and Michelle.
Yes, do love that movie. Tyler would
He
hate it.
he hated, well, he just didn't, he laughed at a few things, more about Janine Garofalo.
Mm.
But this one he put on is called Shoot to Kill, also known as Deadly Pursuit. So it's one of those movies that's got two names.
I thought it was weird when you said to me it had two names. I was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna,
You know, like
I'll
Adventures in
find out. I'm not gonna
Babysitting
ask.
and
Oh, you mean
Night
so
on
it's
the
like an
Town.
Australian name and a name
And
that they brought out in the
yes.
US or the UK? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
following.
So let's take a trip back to the glorious 1980s as well. This was a year after your film, 1988, Expo, where action movies operated on two core principles.
Is it Van Damme?
No.
Oh,
The hero had to be grumpy yet noble, and any fight scene was improved either by snow, cliffs, or both. Shoot to Kill, or as it was creatively renamed in the States, Deadly Pursuit, delivers on all these fronts. We're talking gritty FBI agents, remote wilderness guides, treacherous mountain paths, and some of the most hilariously intense one-liners you'll hear outside of a Schwarzenegger film. So right out of the gate, you know what you're in for. Right out of the gate, you know what you're in for. Sidney Poitier, his
oh,
usual
that
vibe,
old.
his usual vibe is civil
Oh, you
rights
said
icon
88. Yeah, I know
or
you Sidney
beloved
Poitier is.
teacher.
Yes, yes.
Hashtag, if you wanted the
Yeah.
moon, I would ride across the sky
To Sew with
in
Love, isn't it?
letters that would soar 1,000 feet high to serve with love.
Love.
Dun, 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 those schoolgirl days. So, Sidney Poitier suddenly appears as an FBI agent sent on a risky outdoor mission.
And he's a lovely man too, isn't he?
He is grumpy in this, but that's right. This man of polished intensity is suddenly hiking through the Rockies to catch a jewel thief who doubles as a homicidal mountain man before the killer reaches the Canadian border. So they've got to get him before he gets to Canada.
Right.
His partner on this adventure is none other than a plaid-draped Tom Berenger, who's channeling
Ooh.
every 80s wilderness cliche to give us the vibe of a man who bathes in the river water and flosses with pine needles. A guy named Steve is played by Clancy Brown, and he's one of those actors who has appeared in so many movies that when you see him, you're like, oh, that guy, but you have no idea what their name is, and they probably don't ever make a fortune. They're just always there in semi-big roles. So what's the actual storyline? An FBI agent, who's Poitier, discovers that a jewel thief has fled to the wilderness, where he's somehow mingling with a group of unsuspecting hikers led by Sarah, played by none other than Kirstie Alley.
I've just looked it up because I wanted to see Tom Berenger, and then I just saw Kirstie Alley pop up. I love Kirstie Alley.
But she's also the only female in this group of sportsmen, and she's their guide, so it totally seems legit. But to flip-flop a bit, at the start of the movie, the jewel thief gets his jewels from this jewel shop owner, and he has the jewel shop owner's wife, as a hostage. He's like, get me your fucking diamonds or I kill your wife. And the guy breaks into his own store, gets the diamonds. The police come, they're like, dude. And he's like, it's my store. And they find out ransom and all this shit. So they go to the pier. They go to get the wife back. They throw the diamonds. The guy who you don't see, he's just behind the wife, backs away. You hear this gunshot. They run. The wife's dead, and this speedboat takes off. So they're on pursuit now after this guy. So when you get to the deadly pursuit, and they were shooting to kill, but when they get to when you see the guy, the group of hikers, you don't know which guy it is. You're not meant to know which guy it is. It's just this group of men and Kirstie Alley. And you're like, ooh, which one is it? So now why the jewel thief chose to infiltrate a hiking group is beyond me. Maybe he thought he'd go on a post-heist Finding Myself retreat. But either way, Poitier enlists the help of Berenger's
plot hole
wilderness guide, who also happens to be tour guide Kirstie Alley's boyfriend. So he gets this Tom Berenger to help track him down. And it starts off with basically, no, I'm going alone. You're not skilled enough to come through the mountains. Listen here, you. I'm going to find that killer and this is all going to happen. No, you can't do it. You're going to hold me back. I need my girlfriend.
So Tom Berenger is Kirstie Alley's boyfriend.
Yes, but
Because there's
also a
heaps of
wilderness
photos of them
guide.
together. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That's why they're together in all these pictures.
To track him down, so they get together to track him down, which really means tracking across every bear-infested, snow-covered cliff edge available. It's the FBI meets Outward Bound, the combo we never knew we needed. Prepare yourself for an endless stream of 80s action movie dialogue that seems to exist purely to confuse viewers. At one point, Portier yells, "I don't need you to like me. I just need you to survive." Like he's competing in some melodramatic FBI pep talk contest. Berenger doesn't disappoint either, with classics like, "If you don't keep up, you'll die out here," spoken while leading Portier through a forest of moderate difficulty. It's as if the screenwriter just took every line Bruce Willis delivered, ran it through a blender, and poured out the resulting word smoothie. And then there's the line, "Let's get the son of a bitch," which Berenger delivers as though he's declaring war on an entire nation instead of some guy with a few stolen jewels who's got his girlfriend. You got to appreciate the way the movie treats a manhunt, though, through rugged terrain as though it's a face-off between mythical titans. The real kicker is the tone. Every line is delivered with this kind of seriousness you'd expect from a courtroom drama, not an outdoor chase scene. The wild delivery elevates even the most basic statements into powerful declarations, and it's a reminder that in the 80s, even the smallest situation could be turned into a life or death scenario with just the right amount of delivery and hefty amount of squinting. Our villain, Steve, is one for the ages. So he's hiding with our innocent group of hikers, blending in as though you wouldn't notice the weird guy who makes dead-eyed small talk. You can picture him just in the group, smiling politely while secretly seething, clearly dying to monologue about his own crimes. The movie wants us to think that Steve could be anybody, blending seamlessly into the crowd, but the entire time he has the creepy, smarmy energy of someone who's definitely hiding something. Every hiker's clearly nervous, but he's out there with dead eyes and a suspiciously clean North Face jacket, sticking out like a sore thumb. There's a particularly hilarious scene where Steve's charm almost works on someone, but his forced smile and uncomfortable eye contact gives him away faster than you can say serial killer chic. But that doesn't matter because he's pretty much kills all the other hikers in the group by pushing them over the cliff one by one. All within about 5 minutes as well. So one goes, "Oh, nearly falls." He's like, "Here, I'll help you. Reach up, grab my hand," and all this. And he does that, pulls him up, oh, lets him go. And then one guy comes to try and help and he falls over as well. And then there's another guy who, like the last guy, is like, whoa, man. And he just keeps walking until the guy just backs off the cliff. They all end up as corpses on the bottom of the fucking mountain with Kirstie Alley as the only survivor. He needs her to get through the mountain range, you see.
Because her boyfriend knows things, so she knows things.
Well, she's the guide. Leaving Kirstie Alley because
I thought the other guy was the guide. Oh, she's a guide
He's a
too.
wilderness guide. She's a tour guide. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So he leaves Kirstie Alley because he knows he needs her to get through the mountains. And he says to her, "You get me through these mountains and you can have this diamond." And he puts a diamond or two in her hand and she looks at it. She throws it away. And I'm like, "You fucking dumb idiot." Yeah. She also happens to be the wilderness expert Skye girlfriend, please. Obviously. Forgot that I mentioned that several times. And then we have the wilderness scenes. Let's be clear, though. The mountains in this film are a character onto themselves. They're presented as this giant silent menace, almost as dangerous as the villain himself. Imagine two men, one a seasoned outdoorsman, Berenger, and the other a city-dwelling FBI agent, Poitier, trying to navigate freezing rivers, scale rocky cliffs, and survive in brutal conditions, all without even the most basic survival training. For every scene with real danger.
Dead. 5 minutes and a die from the elements.
For every scene with real danger, like crossing a slippery cliff edge, there's another that feels, let's say, less threatening. At one point, they encounter a grizzly bear, and the movie treats it like it's Jurassic Park. This camera zooms in, dramatic music plays, and Berenger shouts something unintentionally funny like, "Stay still or I'll eat you alive." Meanwhile, the bear is clearly uninterested, probably wondering why two grown men are yelling at each other in the middle of its lunch spot. And there's also the gear they have, which is absolutely impractical. Poitier's FBI agent looks like he's got his mountain wear out of a tourist shop, while Berenger looks like he's wearing the same plaid shirt he's had since 1982, which, knowing this character, he probably has. The ridiculous of this odd couple surviving all these perils adds a priceless layer to the film, especially when you realise that most of these dangers are ones they stumbled into by being oblivious to their surroundings. Back to the actual chase.
You should have known there was a bear.
When they finally find him, Steve doesn't put up much of a fight, which is somehow disappointing after the hours of hiking, rock climbing, and camping our heroes endure. It's like the director decided to have Steve throw in the towel to save everyone from another 3 hours of scenic hiking footage. Once they capture him, you half expect Poitier and Berenger to high-five and exchange a quick, "We did it!" But instead, they just exchange serious nods like they've achieved some sort of outdoor enlightenment. So what we are left with is Shoot to Kill is an absolute masterclass in 80s suspense, combining mismatched buddies, snowy mountain chases, and the sort of deadpan seriousness that makes every line unintentionally hilarious. It's an intense game of cat and mouse, but with enough over-the-top acting, one-liners, and melodramatic moments to keep you laughing, cringing, and rooting for these two unlikely heroes. If you're a fan of classic action films with a mix of crime thriller and wilderness survival, Shoot to Kill has it all. Plus the unintentional comedy that only the 80s can bring. And the best part, it doesn't take itself too seriously, which means you shouldn't either. Just sit back, grab the popcorn, and enjoy the ride. I give it a rating of fun to watch.
There's nothing like an 80s film, though, is there?
Especially an action or a comedy one.
Yeah,
The comedy
you just
one
can't
is
compare. They don't
on
make
so
films
many
like that
levels
anymore.
wrong and sexist and
Yeah,
misogynist
yeah.
and homophobic and everything all in one hilarious package that we thought was fucking super funny. And then you've got the action ones, which is just cheese fest.
Was it huge at the box office? Like, was it a big deal back in its time?
I'm not sure, actually. Don't know.
It looks familiar. Like, I definitely know the cover. I actually feel like my mum and dad watched it and thought it was really good.
Yeah.
This is totally their kind of film. They would love this kind of shit.
Yeah. But Kirstie Alley in an action film as well was quite interesting to see.
I think she's been in a couple, you know. I definitely think she has.
And what's your second one you done, bitch?
Okay, my turn again. Let's go, shall we? Okay. Sir, if there's something strange in your
In your
neighborhood,
neighborhood,
who
who
you gonna
you gonna
call?
call? Skye, Lee, Colette,
Ghostbusters!
stupid bitches.
So, Ghostbusters, made in 1984, is a supernatural comedy directed by Ivan Reitman. Everybody knows who that is, right? He made all the 80s classics.
Oh,
Starring Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis as quirky parophysiologists who start a ghost catching business in New York City. Originally conceived by Aykroyd as a space-time adventure with John Belushi, who died, the script was reworked by Ramis into a New York-based story after Belushi's death. Despite budget concerns, the film employed groundbreaking special effects, more on that later, and was a surprise hit, grossing $282 million and becoming a cultural phenomenon. It definitely became a cultural phenomenon.
well, they're still making movies about it today.
I know.
And I do remember having that on either VHS or beta. I'd say beta probably, and watching that shit over and over and over again.
Oh, so you're going to know a lot of these quotes and you're going to know a lot of the lines. So its theme song by Ray Parker Jr. topped charts, and the film inspired a massive franchise, including the animated The Real Ghostbusters series, comics, games, merch, of course. Ghostbusters 2 in 1989 followed, but was less successful, while Ghostbusters...
I quite like Ghostbusters too.
I can't really remember it. See, I love the new ones, especially the girl one. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. I could watch it over and over.
And that got so much flack. I actually loved it too. And Chris Hemsworth in
People
it is
hated
hilarious.
it.
It's because it was girls.
All hilarious. Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
Fucking what's her name? The blonde one that I love. I can't think of what her name is now. It's lost me.
Chelsea.
Michelle.
Was she from Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, no, yeah. Ghostbusters go. Oh, it's gonna kill me. And it's also that Leslie chick that you like. What's her name?
Kirsten Wiig, Kate McKinnon.
Oh, Kate McKinnon and Melissa McCarthy. Yeah.
Yes.
So good, so good, so good. I love it. It's my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, I quite liked it. And I loved it when he wore glasses just to seem smart. There was
I
no glasses in there.
know. It was
It
hilarious
was
and they
cool having a
loved
dumb
him.
blonde
Yeah, the
unk.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it continued with Ghostbusters Afterlife, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and continued the story after a 2016 reboot underperformed, which was the Ghostbusters girls version. In 2015, the Library of Congress preserved Ghostbusters in the Natural Film Registry. So, what I want to know before I go through it is, what are your feelings on Ghostbusters?
I like it. I
Yeah.
liked the first two. I love the girl one, but in the second one, it's got the guy from Ally McBeal, who's the boss, who loves the turkey wobbles on women's throat.
Oh yeah,
The
the
short little
really
guy.
wheezy. Yeah, yeah, I know the one you're
I
talking
think he
about.
becomes the bad guy in it, like Zool. You know
Yeah,
how Sigourney Weaver
Zool's in the
becomes
first one.
Zool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, and I loved the real Ghostbusters cartoon. I think we spoke about that in our 90s cartoons, and I was saying that seemed like one of the fancy cartoons. When it came on, you were lucky to be
Yeah,
able to watch it. Yeah.
yeah, yep, yep, yep. And what are your feelings on Bill Murray?
I don't mind Bill Murray. I loved a lot of his movies when I was younger. Scrooge,
Scrooge.
Stripes,
Yeah,
all of those.
Groundhog Day is one of my all-time favorite
Groundhog
films.
Day.
So Scrooged.
I've
I've
heard he's a
watched them
bit of
over
a
and over.
grumpy bastard in
Yes,
real
I have
life.
heard that too. I've heard he's a bit hard to work with.
Yeah.
A bit like Chevy Chase, I think. Everybody hated Chevy Chase and they
Well,
still
apparently
do.
he is meant to be a bit of a racist, but I
Chevy
don't know.
Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that too. So first thoughts were it's rated PG. I remember it being super scary when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. It looks so familiar, but I don't actually remember it. So I think it was one of those films that I sort of watched in the background because I was quite young when my cousins were watching it and certainly know bits and pieces about it, but I don't know if I ever sat down and watched it from end to end. Um, Find books in my favorite place, the library plus. So you know
Yeah.
how it starts and they're in the library and the books are all
That's right.
flying
Yeah, yeah,
around.
yeah. And then is that where Slimer is as well? Or that's a
No,
old
that's the
woman
first
ghost,
old
isn't it?
woman ghost, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the song. Bill Murray is so unattractive. Ectoplasm plus.
He
Um
slimed me.
For an old movie, so far it's holding up. They haven't had to do really crazy special effects yet, but still it's not feeling too dated just yet. Just wait, I change my views on that later on. Dan Aykroyd is so fucking young. It's crazy. The ghosts are a bit off, but still, it came out in 1984 and was made in 1983. So up until the point like where the books are flying around and the library cards are flying around and stuff like that, and even the ghost that stands, the very first ghost they see that stands at the end of the bookshelf and then turns around and but it looks like an
That's
old
right.
lady to begin
Yeah.
with. It still wasn't too bad for the early 80s, I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah, yeah.
And that was the time when they made these films. They put so much effort into production too,
Yes.
and the special effects. Like it could take
Star
years to
Wars and all that
bring
shit.
it together.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
kind of the same now when you think of Avatar. Like after the smash hit Avatar 1, they started making Avatar 2 and Avatar 3 at the same time. And Avatar 2 only came out a couple of years ago.
Okay, so back to the story. After being fired from Columbia University for their unorthodox ghost research, parapsychologist Peter Venkman, so that's Bill Murray, Ray Stantz, so that's Dan Aykroyd, and Egon Spengler is Harold Ramis, start Ghostbusters, a ghost catching business. They set up shop in an old firehouse, create high tech ghost capturing gear, and despite a slow start, gain fame after capturing a ghost at the Sedgwick Hotel. Dana Barrett, a cellist, visits them after encountering a demonic creature named Zool in her apartment, sparking their investigation. Thoughts, please? Sigourney Weaver, the one and only,
Yes. Did you see
looking
that
very
meme that
young and
came
beautiful.
the meme that came out about that, just saying, is Sigourney the only person named Sigourney or are there others or some shit like that?
Is it not Irish?
Don't know.
I thought it was. I thought that's why it's spelt that way. It seems a bit like Siobhan almost.
But it's phonetically correct,
Mm,
Sigourney.
mm, mm. Maybe not. I don't know. I just kept thinking about how you were saying, was it Stockard Channing that you were saying that wasn't a real name?
Stockyard. I called her.
Stockyard. That's right. You were calling her Stockyard Channing. I was like, that's not her name.
Sigourney is apparently Old Norse from Sigur, which means victory.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So Sigourney Weaver, the one and only. Oh my God, the eggs. Forgot about the eggs and the three big, the big
Oh, how they
tiger
start
demons.
cooking.
They start cooking and they're popping it, and that's actually done quite well. So she puts the carton
Yeah.
on, she brings the groceries in, she turns it back, and then all of a sudden she turns over and they're popping out, and then they're just spilling over and frying on
Yes.
the countertop,
Yeah.
and there's no like stovetop inside.
I remember those tiger skin demon things.
I'll
Yeah.
talk about them more soon.
That was scary.
So Janine, the secretary, I think she looks like Frenchie from Greece.
Yes.
Also, she's the Bo Peep in Toy Story.
Oh.
We got one! You know, when she yells when they get the first call.
Yeah.
It's a tiny bit slow at this point, a bit of a slow build up for me. They've got the Ecto 1 license plate. Bill Murray is funny though. He was a bit cringe at the beginning, and I was like, ooh, I'm not sure I'm feeling really his comedy, but it gets better.
Yeah.
I love that they are scientists. Ray is actually, so Ray Dan Aykroyd is actually smoking a ciggy while he's trying to find a ghost in the hotel. It's so odd because it's so natural, but not something that you'd see these days. So he's walking around in like an actual fancy hotel, and he's just got a ciggy out of his mouth. Like it's no dramas, and it's just
when
it's almost like they're promoting smoking. Like that's how much they smoke in this film.
It's like when you see him smoking in restaurants and films and TV shows back then. You're just like, the fuck, yeah.
But it's so odd to see it. Like it just felt a little bit weird because we're just not used to it as much anymore. I mean, it was in the 80s, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Quote, he slimed me.
He slimed me.
Next quote, we came, we saw, we kicked
its ass.
Next quote, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters.
Skye, Nicolette.
Oh my God, Ernie Hudson. I've got is so fucking typing. He comes in later. I don't know what that means. But Ernie Hudson comes into it, and I forgot that he didn't come until about halfway into it. And it's sort of weird how he comes in because he doesn't really do much. He just becomes one of the foursome, but he just comes in and he's like a bit religious. And it's almost like they meant for him to be like a bigger character.
Like an exorcist
but then
type or something.
They didn't make him a big character. It's a bit weird. Zool.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go to
I am Zool.
I am Zool. They full chain smoke the whole time, and they're scientists again. Like they're full, just got fags hanging out of their mouth, and everyone in the room's got fags hanging out of their mouth. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Smoky air.
Okay, so then there's this viewpoint of the top of the building that's clearly a model. And that's the first super fake bit that I thought was super fake up until that point. I was like, there was definitely times in the special effects where I was like, ooh, but I was still thinking, considering the time, that they were doing
excellent.
okay.
Yeah.
But when
it was all super believable for us.
It was
when
totally,
you watch it back then.
And you couldn't tell an 80s kid that wasn't super believable. If you told an 80s kid that, they'd literally probably pull your eyeballs out of your head and be like,
I think even 80s parents as well, they would have been like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
That looks so real, and it looks so fake. Now.
But that was the first time I was like, oh, that's definitely super fake. It's like supposed to be a massive like view down, but it's clearly a set, a very badly made set. And then the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids guy comes in.
Rick Moranis.
Yes.
He was the gatekeeper or the...
she was the gatekeeper. He was the key master, I think.
Key master, yeah.
Yeah. So as ghost activity rises, the Ghostbusters hire Winston Zedmore to help with demand. So that's when Ernie Hudson comes in. The Environmental Protection Agency EPA Inspector Walter Peck grows suspicious and eventually has the Ghostbusters arrested, leading to an explosion that releases trapped Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghost Dana and her neighbor Lewis, who's so Dana's Sigourney Weaver and Lewis is Rick Moranis, the little tiny guy.
Hey, you're having a party over here, and it seems like it's pretty cool. Can I come in, or I'll just be over here now? All right, bye.
He's the best in it. I was wetting myself. At first, I was like, ick, but then I was like crying, laughing at him. I thought it was so funny.
Also, Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors, please.
Oh yes, of course. So they get possessed by Zool, and then Vince Clortho, servants of the destructor god Gozer. In jail, the Ghostbusters learn that Dana's building is designed to summon Gozer. Now, when you see a visual of the building, it's not the special effects in this, but it's also got at the top. So it's designed to summon Gozer or whatever. But at the top, it's almost like, you know, those old glass pot puree bowls that used to have that be on like a metal stand, like it'd be like a gold plated stand, and
Yeah,
it would have
yeah.
glass in the top. You put potpourri in. That's on the top, and it's so bizarre.
Potpourri.
Anyway, let's continue with my thoughts. She's seen a ghost in her apartment and she walks in without turning the light on. So she's after the egg thing. She sees the eggs and she opens the fridge because she hears growling, and then she sees the dog god things for the very first time, slams it, freaks out, and she's just seen the ad for the Ghostbusters because they've just started advertising, and then
Yeah.
they're getting
Costing the
famous
city
and
millions
stuff.
and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she goes to see them, and then after that she goes back to her apartment and she literally walks in and there's no lights on. So she's seen a fucking ghost demon dog in her fridge. The eggs start, frying on the counter on their own, and she still walks into her apartment on her own without turning
Without
the
a
lights on. I'm like, you stupid bitch.
It was the 80s. It
Um,
was a different time.
it's all quite light humid until that point when she gets brutally fucked up by
So,
Zool. So
doesn't she get on the sits on the couch and does it go to the fridge?
she sat on the couch, and then an arm comes up
Yeah.
and grabs her, and then another arm comes back and wraps around her, and all
And
these
doesn't
arms
one
come
come
out
up
of her.
between her legs as well?
Yes, and just traps her,
They
and then
had
it
to make it a bit
just
sexual. Yeah.
swivels her and then pushes her through into the kitchen, and then that's all you see. But it's
Yeah.
pretty like aggressive. It's pretty violent, not
Yeah.
violent, but
Scary.
yeah. And I was like, oh my god, everything was like really light humid with the ghosts
I
and
was
stuff
having a
until
good
that
time.
happens. um Okay, so Zool's special effects are pretty bad, especially when he jumps out of the neighbor's closet and chases him down the hall. Oh my
Isn't
god, it's
Zool a
so
chip?
bad. So Zool is one of the dogs. So there's Zool, and
I thought
then
Zool was that one that's sort of like all in the white.
no, that's Gozer. Yeah,
Ah,
so that's the god at the end. So then there's Zool, and then there's Vince Clortho. So the Rick
good.
Moranis guy is Vince Clortho dog. So there's two dogs,
Yeah.
and then they come and attack them, and then they become the keymaster and
And
the
gatekeeper.
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes after Rick Moranis, it's
I
like
know.
all the people come in, he's having a party, and everyone comes in, and he grabs someone's coats, and then he throws them into the bedroom and throws them on top of the
That's
dog's
right.
head.
And
And
so,
it's all fine up until that point, because the dog, you just see the dog's face, and then all of a sudden the dog just jumps out at the party and comes through the door and starts attacking everyone and
yes.
stuff and running, and that's when the special effects are
Get a
really
bit, yeah.
fucking bad.
I think, yeah, because the actual animal looks like it's just implanted on top of the movie footage. And when he runs up to the restaurant, he's like, help me, help me.
Yes.
And no one helps him. And then I think, do they see him go, ah?
No, you
And
just
then they
see him
just turn around
fall.
talking.
Yeah, you just see him fall. You don't see any attack or anything. You
Yeah.
don't see the dog, and
But
then
do they
they
look
do.
at him and then just
They
go
look
back
at
to
him, then go
talking?
back to talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever's happening outside, which is
Yeah.
also, massive plot hole. And it's this point that I'm like, ooh, I feel like the newer sequels maybe are better. Sigourney Weaver is a demon. Are you the keymaster? Because when what's his name? What's his name now? I forgot what
Bill
his
Murray.
name is. Bill Murray, but his character, Peter Venkman,
Oh,
he comes
yes,
over
that's
to
right.
her
And he's
house
like, are we
because they've
role
got a
playing?
date.
Is this role
Yeah.
playing? Yeah, I can get
Yeah.
into this shit.
And he comes, he's like, oh, you look different.
Yeah.
And she's like, are
I
you the
am
keymaster?
Zool.
And then she like levitates on the bed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So pretty creepy when Zool talks through Dana, and then she levitates off the bed. So he starts talking like this really horrible voice through her mouth, and then she starts thrashing and doing all crazy stuff. And this is where I say I actually don't think I've seen the middle or the end, unless this is the Marshmallow Man one. Now don't
It
say
is.
anything. Yeah. I go on in this vein for a while.
Okay. I think our listeners know.
Unless this is the Marshmallow Man one. The storyline is a bit all over, especially when the EPA guy decides to turn off the electromagnetic fields and blows the headquarters and lets all the ghosts, blows the headquarters up and lets all the ghosts out. Like he just comes out of nowhere. He's like got this problem. He's like the Environmental Protection Agency, and he comes in and he first of all, he wants to see the ghosts, and they're like making fun of him. And then he comes back with coppers and he's like, no, you have to turn it off. And that's how the ghosts get out. But it just comes out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? It's like weird.
Yeah.
Why is he there?
Like, is it
Why
nuclear
does he
power
care?
or something they're using, or?
Allegedly, that's what he reckons, that they're using power and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just a weird thing that just get chucks in there. And then I giggle about Keymaster and Gatekeeper. Then they're smoking in the jail cells after they get arrested. Everybody in the jail cells is smoking.
It's a form of currency, please.
Like,
In prison.
Then I go, ick, Rick Moranis and Sigourney Weaver kiss.
Yeah.
Also, the EPA guy is such a douche. Quote, yes, it's true. This man has no dick, lols. Because when they go to the mayor, he comes staunching in, the EPA guy, and he's telling them not to believe them and not help them and whatever. And the mayor ends up helping them and giving them like access to the city and stuff to try to save them from the ghost. But when they first come out, one of the guys calls him Dick, and then they go on to tell the story, and the mayor's like, is this true? And then what's his name turns around and is like, yes, it's true, this man has no dick. That was funny. Okay, so then the special effects make you feel like you were in a ride at Movie World or Disneyland, where things are happening so close to the screen so it can look like a bigger deal. Like there were so many times it just reminded me of the shark coming out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it was that fake sort of model type thing.
Yeah.
And you can actually imagine them on the set doing it over and over again. Like, did that look better? Should we make this bigger? Let's do it from the top.
Spray some water on its face.
Yeah, let's change the color. Let's paint something over here. Like you could imagine how many hours went into that production to make it look as good as they could do it. I do feel like its popularity is more because it was the first of its kind. Like, I mean, I like it. I like it a lot, but it's not because it's a great film.
Yeah. It was a funny film. As you said, it was something that hadn't been done before. It was cool special effects. It had some great one-liners and good actors in it, really.
Excellent acting. Like I think that's the thing. The actors make up for everything that isn't quite right about it. And it's funny because I guess I didn't really watch it. I wasn't obsessed with it when I was a kid. So this is my thoughts. It's like when I show Tyler a movie that's really old that he's never seen. Sometimes he loves them, but sometimes he's like, that was terrible. Like he hates National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I don't know how anyone can hate that. He just thinks every time we put it on, he's like, oh, grow, not again. And he will sit through it every year because me and my sister watch it every year at Christmas time. But he's always just like shaking his head. It's just not his thing. And I get that. It's just because we love it as kids.
And we loved it as kids. Yeah, exactly. But look at things like other 80s movies like Can't Buy Me Love or Bikini Shop and Weekend at Bernie's. That may have been early 90s. But those types of movies that were massive hits, and they were fucking terrible.
What about Mannequin?
Yeah, I know, but that was great.
Oh, we should do that. Okay, so the dogs are back, and fuck, they are bad.
Yeah.
When there's pictures of them, like shots of them just running across the street, so it's so bad. But yet the little green one, the one with all the ectoplasm, what do they call him? Slimer. He always looks really cool. Yeah. Like they always make him look cool. And even though you can see through him and the special effects again aren't that great, they made him good. I like him.
He became a cult phenomenon too, didn't he? That Slimer fucking drinks and shit like that.
Yeah, he was massive. So the final
and he's a good guy in the real Ghostbusters. He's like their sidekick.
Yes, I thought that happened. Yeah. So the final demon looks totally like Kristen Stewart from fucking
Twilight. I can see that. Oh my God.
You need to look it up. I think it's Sigourney Weaver though. I think maybe it's her and they've just made her up. Because it looks a little bit like her as well, but it's 100% looks like Kristen Stewart.
Oh no, it's Slavica Jovan.
Oh, well, there you go.
But she looks like Sigourney.
Kristen Stewart look alike, I think. Anyway, dogs again, ick. Quote, Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. You know that bit because she's like, are you a god? And he's like, no, I'm not a god. And then she just like blasts them. And then Ernie Hudson leans over. Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Sound effects are very 80s. Also, I want to see the Marshmallow Man. It's more weird alien now than supernatural. Story. With the city in chaos, the Ghostbusters confront Gozer, who transforms into a giant, stay-puffed marshmallow man. Ignoring earlier warnings, they cross their proton streamers, causing an explosion that banishes Gozer and closes the portal. The Ghostbusters rescue Dana and Lewis and emerge as heroes. Quote, lol, I couldn't help it. It just popped in there.
Yeah, because they say they can't think of anything because she'll come back as your worst fears or something, whatever they think. They're like, think of nothing, think of nothing.
Yeah.
Ray, what did you do? I couldn't help it.
Just popped in there.
I thought of
And
the
then he
most
starts like
harmless
walking through
thing.
the street.
Yeah.
And then my thoughts are,
And they
ha ha
toast
ha
it.
ha ha. It's the Marshmallow Man. Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man. This is the iconic bit that made every kid want to see it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
when you knew that there
You
was a
wanted to
Marshmallow
eat the
Man.
fucking Marshmallow Man.
Totally. Special effects believable with Stay Puffed, I thought. Totally. They did that very well. Don't know how they did it. But that was very clever. Then Stay Puffed turns into s'mores goo. Love it.
Yes.
Quote, go check on that little guy when he's rescuing Dana.
Oh,
Peter.
yeah.
And he just gets out of like, because the dogs like turn into stone and break off and they have to dig her out, but he just cracks out of his on his own. He's pretty funny, Rick Moranis. I'm into it, but what a funny looking fuck. Quote, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters. So for discussion, it was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, both dead, I think. I actually think a lot of them are
Dan
dead.
Aykroyd's dead.
Well, I was wrong about that.
Because he's in the later ones, isn't he?
I was definitely wrong.
Yeah.
So Harold Ramis, the guy who Janine is in love with, the secretary, he actually did die in 2014 at age 69. The mayor died. So the guy who plays the mayor, he also died in 2016, Dave Margulies. And then I say, I take that back. I actually thought Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson were dead, but they aren't. Lols. I think I thought Dan Aykroyd was dead because his character of Ray is dead in the newer Ghostbuster and his ghost comes back.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, so that's how that first remake after the Ghostbusters with the girls starts. Yes. Is that they inherit the house and he died and he was an absent father and the mum and her kids, so the grandkids moved to the house. Right. And then he set it all up like it's a ghost catching machine, the house that he's like built up, and she has all this resentment, the mother, because he was never around.
Right.
And it turns out that he knew something big was coming and he set the house up for them to protect them and prepare them for what was coming. And he comes back as the ghost and helps them.
And then all's forgiven. Ish.
Anyhow, so I think out of the two, I probably loved Can't Buy Me Love way more than I did love Ghostbusters. And I did actually, so I started watching Ghostbusters last night, but I didn't get home from getting my hair done until like 9:45, smashed my dinner, got into bed and I was like, I have to fucking watch this film and record my notes. And then I got to, there was like 40 minutes left and my eyes were shutting and Tyler was passed out. It was fast sleep. It was nearly midnight and it kept going longer because I kept having to stop to write my notes. And I'd be like, oh, okay, like there's 50 minutes left. And then I'd look and like 25 minutes had gone past because I'd wrote so many comments.
Oh, wow.
And then I got to the point where it was like 30 minutes to go. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't have any time to watch the rest. So I just couldn't keep my eyes open. So I put it off. Like I stopped it and went to sleep. And then today I planned on watching the last half an hour in my lunch break so that I could watch it and then just finalize my notes. And I couldn't fucking get the Foxtel to work. Like the app on my phone because neither of us could remember whose email we used or what password it was. But I had to eat my dinner when I got home tonight anyway. So I raced in. Tyler had it ready for me to go as soon as I walked in. He had my dinner cooked. So I jumped in, was eating my dinner, watching it. But then also it was like 30 minutes, but it took me like 45 minutes to watch it because I kept making notes.
Bless him. He's such a good egg.
I know he's a good egg.
I'm doing The Truth About Cats and Dogs. Have you seen it?
I have, but it was a long time ago. And look, from memory, because it's got Uma Thurman in it as well.
Yes.
And Jeannie Garofalo.
Garofalo.
Yeah.
Garofalo.
And I remember watching it because I loved her so much after Reality Bites.
Yeah.
But I don't remember loving it.
I loved it.
Does it have John Cusack in it?
No. I went and saw it at the cinemas with Matt.
I think I saw it at the cinemas too.
Because we used to go all the time because his brother worked there and he could get family movie prices. So we'd pay like $3.50 to go to the movies. So we used to go all the time. I fucking loved it, but also I think, and this is going to sound super sad, I think there was like that whole identity, like, oh yeah, I can see, like, you just wish that would happen to you. Like you'd get the cute guy liking you, that type of cringe shit you'd think when you were, how old was I then? 20? 19. I was 19. So
I think it was a little bit too adult for me when I saw it. So if you were 19, I would have been 16.
16, yeah.
So I think when I saw it, I went in there thinking it was something else and then it wasn't. But I would totally rewatch it now and I probably would love it.
Yeah.
But I remember not loving it.
Yeah. Fair enough. So The Truth About Cats and Dogs is the kind of film that back in 1996 was a charming little tale about mistaken identity, tangled romance, and the universal truth that we're all a bit messy and insecure. But in today's light, the movie feels like a hilarious relic of the 90s rom-com era, where the go-to dating advice was just lie until you can't anymore. So let's dive in. Our story centers around Abby Barnes, Janine Garofalo-Bliss, a radio host with a show about pet care. Abby's got this chill, thoughtful vibe and just enough quirk to qualify as the smart but not so confident friend. Because in the 90s, the leading lady was either a model or quirky. Her love interest, Brian, who's played by Ben Chaplin, you know him if you saw him, falls for her on air, captivated by her voice and personality.
Yes, I remember that bit.
But when he comes to the studio, he mistakes Abby's blonde model friend, Noelle, Uma Thurman, as the Abby he knows. Instead of correcting him, Abby goes, sure, this can work, and tags in Noelle to pose as herself, because what could go wrong? It all builds to a comedy of errors where these two besties basically switch lives, testing the limits of friendship and Brian's willingness to overlook one red flag after another. Because, yeah, Janine and Uma and Abby, oh God, Noelle and Abby live in the same apartment complex, and she's always seeing her come home with these hot guys and shit like that. They're neighbors, but they're friends. So, character highlights and moments that didn't quite age so well. Abby and the nerd girl glow up myth, which is very similar to Can't Buy Me Love, but different gender. Abby is our average girl, the kind that Hollywood loves to downplay by throwing her in a flannel and calling it a day. In the 90s, Abby's flaws were her quirky job and curly hair. But we all know she's secretly beautiful because she is. She's every
And she's
rom-com,
very cool.
and she's super cool. She's every rom-com leading lady with a makeover waiting to happen.
Yeah.
The lesson in The Truth About Cats and Dogs, the message is clear. Confidence comes from looking good. Not the greatest advice by today's standards, but hey, who doesn't love a makeover montage? There's also Brian, the ideal, slightly obvious 90s romantic lead. Brian's like the 90s equivalent of that guy on Instagram who follows all the accounts with inspirational quotes. He's a bit clueless, but makes up for it by being good looking and owning a big camera. He's wooed by Abby's brains, but gets roped in by Noelle's face. And even though this two-woman charade is highly suspicious, he's still quite charmed and apparently thinking switching identities is cute, but only in a rom-com. Another thing was the big switcheroo in the catfishing scenario. So the let's just go with it and let him think my bestie is me strategy is a plot device that has not aged well. It's a classic catfish before we even knew what catfishing was. And Abby and Noelle somehow believe that once Brian gets to know Abby, he'll overlook the small fact that she lied about who she was for the entire movie. And in 2020s, it's less cute and more, wow, this is a therapy session waiting to happen. One-liners and gags that scream 90s and probably wouldn't fly today. Noelle's dumb blonde shtick. She's endearing, but the way she plays up her clueless model role is a running gag that is a bit uncomfortable now. Some of the things that she does, it's kind of like Shallow Hal. You know, some of that is just a bit, she's shown as oblivious, and the film treats it like a punchline, reinforcing the fact that good looks equals no brains, and it's not Noelle's best moment. The flirting with a turtle scene. Brian asks Abby to sweet talk a turtle, which she does in a full sexy baby voice. Apparently that was flirting back in the 90s, though today it might be more of a red flag than romantic. Just act like yourself advice that Brian... Just act like yourself advice. Brian, when suspicious, basically tells Abby, be yourself. Ironically, Abby's advice to herself is more like, be the best friend your guy thinks you are and then keep lying, which sort of undermines the rom-com moral, true love finds you as who you are. But Abby really missed the memo there. When Abby finally spills the beans, Brian's reaction is surprisingly mild. You'd think there'd be a bigger fallout for the case of, oh, by the way, I'm not actually the person you thought I was. The movie handles it with standard rom-com confession equals love twist, which back then was charming, but now feels like an ad for relationship counseling. The truth about cats and dogs has charm and the soft focus warmth of a pre-social media world, where mistaken identity is still a viable plot point. Abby and Brian's connection is sweet if you ignore the small detail of the giant lie between them. It's classic 90s fare, cute, quirky, and just a little problematic by today's standards. The real takeaway is don't try this at home or anywhere else for that matter. Honesty is, in fact, the best policy.
Do they end up together?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And they have a big dog together, and, yeah. It was never about the looks, Abby. It was about your voice that doesn't sound anything like Noelle's.
Oh, my God. And you say this was good?
Yeah, I loved it. Like I said, it had that whole, what was I said at the beginning? It had that whole that universal truth that we're all a bit messy and insecure. Back then, anyway. Now I'm like, bitch, I'm tidy and totes secure.
Have you been interested to watch that one with Kristen Bell and the dude from OC?
No. What one is that?
The one that's been the big one, number one in Netflix for ages, and then I can't remember which knocked it out. Oh, that other show knocked it out. The one that's come back
with Kristen Bell and the rabbi. No.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about. But the one that knocked it out of first place is the one that's like the young kids. It's like a Lord of the Flies type thing.
Okay.
Not Lord of the Flies. Tyler loved it, and the new series came out like a couple of weeks after they released that.
Right.
What is it? Nobody Wants This is the one I'm talking about, and then it was number one for weeks.
Outer Banks.
Outer Banks, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Outer Banks. Yeah. And then the new season that everyone's been waiting for to come out for that came in and knocked it out of first place. But it was first place for a few weeks, and my sister messaged me when it first came out, and she was like, "Oh my God, have you seen it?" And I said, "No, it keeps popping up, and I'm really keen to watch it because I like Kristen Bell. I love the dude from OC.
Good about it."
And then I was like, she had messaged me and said that. I was like, fine, I'm just going to watch it because Sarah said she binge watched it because it's 20 minutes episodes, and I think it's like 9 episodes. And it's based on these real life podcasters. And it's like this massive story. So their dad is the one that ended up marrying Brody Jenner's mum, and then also the Hadids, Gigi Hadid and the supermodel. So then he divorced Brody Jenner's mum, married the Hadid one. They're still his stepkids though. But had these daughters originally, and they had this massively successful podcast in real life, and it's her loosely based on her story of meeting her Orthodox Jew husband.
Oh wow, okay.
And the first episode is probably a tiny bit cringe, and I made Tyler watch it with me, and he was fucking hooked. Absolutely hooked. I'm not sure. I think you would love the podcasting element about it.
Yeah.
And how they go from nothing to like huge hits.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually very well done. I think it's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, no, I've heard people at work have spoken about it.
Yeah.
And said really it in a good way. Do you know what came up on the children of the 80s and 70s thing? This movie came up. It was like the front of it, and I was like, holy fuck, I've seen this back in the 80s. I have maybe early 90s. No idea what it's about, what happened, but it's got Steve Guttenberg, Daryl Hannah, and it's called High Spirits.
Oh, yes, I know the one.
And they're on a four-poster bed.
It's got Kirsten Dunst in it.
In the 88?
In High Spirits? Yeah. 100%. Go and have a look.
But I couldn't find it on a streaming service, which sucked. It's got Beverly D'Angelo. Peter O'Toole, Steve Guttenberg, Liam Neeson, Daryl Hannah, Jennifer Tilly, Peter Gallagher. I'm not seeing Kirsten Dunst.
Oh,
I
okay,
think she would
maybe.
have been a baby then.
Oh, maybe it's not because she was a little girl in it. I must be thinking of something different then.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, dear listeners. We hope you enjoyed our little take on movies we hadn't seen in a shit long time
A
or
little
never.
play-by-plays.
If there's any movies you'd like us to look at for next season, drop us a line.
Drop us a line, please.
Give us
Follow
the old
us on all the
hashtag.
socials.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening, stupid bitches. Listen again soon, will you?
Please do.
Good night, stupid bitches.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, that stupid bitch. He's a stupid bitch. What a stupid bitch. That's stupid.